Dear students of class 7, once again I am here to take your class, the class which I started the earlier day. The topic of the chapter was the three questions. In this topic, we had discussed about the various three questions which the king wanted to know the answer to it. I hope you remember those three questions very well. The questions were: what was the right time to begin something? Second question, who were the right people to listen to? And the third question was, what was the most important thing to do? So, out of these three questions, the king had known only the solution for the first question from various wise people, those were called to find out the solution to it. Now, in this today's class, we are going to discuss about the remaining two questions, for which the various wise people, intelligent people, those who were called, what were their solution to it, what were their answer to it, which the king is liking to know from them. So now here I am going to begin the rest of the rest of the two questions which the king wanted to know the answer to it from those wise people, those who were called. So please remain attentive and stay tuned. I am going to start the remaining questions solution now. So here I begin. Who were the right people to know to? So this was the second question which the king wanted to find out the answer to it. Equally, various were the answers to the second question. Some said that the counselors were the most important people, others the priests, others the doctors, while some said the warriors were the most necessary. So far as we know it very well, there were various opinions from the various intellectual people, intelligent people, those who were called to find out the solution for the first question also. In the second question too, there were various opinions from the different wise people, those who were called. Some said counselors were the most important people. Some said those who were priests, they were the most important. Some said doctors were the most important people, while some said that the warriors were the most important person. So in this way, you see, various wise people had various thoughts and views regarding this third question also. To the third question now, children. What was the most important occupation? This was the third question. For this also, some replied that the most important thing in the world was science. Others said it was skill in warfare, and others again that it was religious worship. So in this way, for the third question too, there were various opinions from the people, those who were called, the wise people, those who were called from. So the king was quite confused, because he could not find the proper answer, the right answer, the perfect answer for these three questions from none of these wise people, those who were called to find out the solution. All the answers were so different that the king could agree with none of them and gave the reward to none. In this way, as he had promised earlier, anybody, those who would be found to be perfect person to answer all these questions accordingly, as per his wish, as per his judgment, the person would be rewarded very nicely. But here he finds a complete confusion. He was in a complete confusion because none of the wise person, those who were called, were able to give the right answer to it. So that is why, so he was not in a state to give reward to anyone. So this was the situation, children, you see. I hope you are able to follow me, right? That's nice. But he still wished to find the right answer to his questions. But he was still now very confirmed, sure, determined that he wanted to find out the solution to it by any means. He was not going to give up. So now he decides he will try some more other methods so that he can get the solution to these three questions in order to become successful in life. This was the case, children. So he decided to consult a hermit widely renowned for his wisdom. So finally and ultimately, what he decides? Why not to discuss it? Why not to have a conversation with a hermit? Hermit? Who is a hermit? A hermit is a sage, saint, a person related to religious matters. So such a person that the king wished to have a consult or a discussion with so that he can get the right solution to it. So this was the situation, you see. The hermit lived in a forest which he never left, and he welcomed only common folk. So before reaching the hermit's cottage, the king put on simple clothes. He got off his horse and leaving his bodyguard behind went on alone. So in this way, so what does the king decide? The king decides to go himself and meet with that hermit, the hermit who was a renowned hermit in that entire territory. Everybody preferred him, everybody respected him because he was renowned, he was popular, he was very famous in that entire region. So king had heard about it, so he decides to go by himself and meet with him, but not in a king's costume or king's attire. He decided to go to meet with the hermit in a very simple costume, simple look, as if of a very ordinary person's look. This is what he decides to go by himself and meet with the hermit in a very small cottage where the hermit lived. The king put on simple clothes, go off his horse, and leaving his bodyguard behind went on alone. Not even he liked to take the bodyguard with him when he went to meet with the hermit. Better he decides to go all alone and meet with the hermit and place his request so that he could be able to get that proper answer and solution from the hermit at this moment. So this is what we come to learn here in this very much second and the third paragraph of the second page, children. So now I am going to proceed to the next paragraph. The hermit was digging the ground in front of his hut. At the moment when king came in his hut, the hermit was busy digging his soil nearby his hut. Seeing the king, he greeted him and went on digging. First of all, as soon as the hermit sees the king, he greeted him and then he welcomed him in his place, and still he kept on digging on and on the soil. Each time he stuck his spade into the ground and turned a little earth, he breathed heavily, as the hermit was very weak and feeble. So each and every time he was using his spade into the ground, he was taking a long breath because he was very tired, he was looking very feeble, he was not strong enough to walk for a longer period of time. So this is what the king was able to realize and understand. The hermit was not in a state to continue his work for a long time because the hermit was really feeble, weak. By the way in which the hermit was using his spade to dig the soil, it doesn't look that he was strong enough because he was taking a long breath each and every time when he dig the soil. So this is what it comes to the conclusion of this paragraph 2, children. For today, I stop it here today. So next time once again we'll be continuing it to you too. Thank you very much.